The purpose of this video is to introduce Python's conditional logic apparatus. Today you'll learn 3 new boss statements, and just so you can see that they are in fact language keywords: if, elif, and else. These are the 3 new language keywords that we'll work with today. Now, just to get started, we'll go ahead and develop a use case, a very simple one, for an if statement. I'm going to make an absolute value function. Well, what's absolute value mean? It means the distance from x to 0 geometrically in the real line. So what does that entail mechanically? Well, if x is a 0 or a non-negative or a positive number, we don't have to do anything. It is its absolute value. However, if x is negative, we need to change its sign. So how do we do that? Well, we type if, okay? And now what if requires? It requires a predicate. Predicate is simply a Boolean valued expression. And I'm going to say if x is less than 0, and you can see that's an incomplete grammatical phrase, therefore it's a boss statement and it needs a colon at the end. If x is less than 0, I'm going to flip its sign. And I'm just going to say x is minus x. Okay, that makes it very simple. Now, once we get past here, we know that the absolute value has been computed. X is now holding the absolute value, and I'm just going to return it. So let's go ahead and test this out. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say print format statement of, let's see, f of, no. X is equal to, yeah, sometimes it is kind of tedious to write these things. And that needs to go inside of curly braces. So I need to skitter back here and put the other one in. All right. Now, I'm just going to go ahead here and say x is equal to 5. So I'm going to check a positive value. And let's check a negative value and see what we think. And let's check the border case. When x is 0, let's make sure that all those, so we have 2 branches here. If x is positive, one thing occurs. If it's negative, another thing occurs. If it's 0, then that's a border case. And you always want to check the border cases. So the absolute value function, let's see if it's going to behave as we expect it to. Okay, the absolute value of 5 is 5. Negative 5 is also 5 because negative 5 is 5 units to the left of 0. And the absolute value of 0 is 0 because the distance from any number to itself is 0. You can see that I've already engaged in something called nesting here. My if statement is nested inside of a function header. But if we read this, to define the absolute value of x, if x is less than 0, change the sign of x. Return x. Okay, all that is grammatically complete. Python knows exactly what to do, and it goes through and it does it. So this is called, right here, we call this thing a simple if. Okay, a simple if. So an if statement by itself, okay, that says that if the predicate is false, skip the block. So this allows us to just jump over code we don't want to execute in under some circumstance. And there's absolute value of x. Now, you all have taken math classes before, and they sometimes will define a piecewise function. So I'm going to describe the action of the function, and then I'm going to go ahead and implement it. If x is greater than 0, then what we're going to do is we're going to map x to the square of x. All right. If x is less than 0, less than or equal to 0, let's do this. X maps to minus x star x. So if you were to draw the graph of this function, it would be a parabola on one side and then its mirror image through the origin on the other. All right. So here we go. So I've just given the implementation of this function. I'm telling you what it's going to do. So now I'm going to go ahead and actually write code. So this is the action. Sorry, not the implementation. This is the action of my code. All right. That's the action of the function. So let's go ahead and write it. If x is greater than 0, colon, we can do a couple things. We can do this. All right. Okay, so now, so far, if x is greater than 0, we return x star x. Now, if we get past this, we know that x is less than or equal to 0 automatically. How do we know that? Because if x is greater than 0, the return statement ends the execution of the function right on the spot. So we already know x is less than or equal to 0. Now, we could put an else. Let's go ahead and put the else statement in here. Why not? Okay. And you could do this. However, it's more idiomatic to omit the else statement. But here I'm demonstrating the else statement. So this is a if-else progression. All right. Okay. If the predicate is true, the if block executes. If not, the else block executes. So no matter what, this function is going to do something one way or the other. Okay, so this is if and else. Now, this gives me instead of just jumping over code, we now have a two-way fork. We have a fork with two tines, kind of like the one you stab into a roast beef so you can move it from the roasting pan to the platter. Yes, this is a fork with two tines. But maybe you want a fork with more than two tines. So let's try that out. Okay, so now I'm going to def privileges. Let's just call this thing events. And our variable here is going to be called age. All right, so if age is greater than 16, greater or equal to 16. Ooh, whoops. Colon. I'm just going to print out you can get a driver's permit. All right. Now, I would like to have several ways of making decisions. All right. So I'm going to say elif age is greater than or equal to 18, colon, You need to register to vote. All right. I'm going to say if age greater or equal to 21. Okay, so I can have several elifs in here if I want, and I'm just going to say print. You may legally purchase alcohol. It's always a temptation to put two H's in there. It's kind of a funny looking word. Now, finally at the end here, you don't have to have, but you can have an else. So an else is always optional. And you just say else. A common mistake of beginners is to put a predicate after the else. Don't. Okay, this is the default case. Print. Let's see. You have no adult privileges. All right, let's go ahead and just say that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this code here because I've seen it. All right, we're done with it. So let's go ahead and call events. You notice that events is doing the printing. All right, so we do not have to say print events of age. We simply say events of, oh, you know, maybe we should do this. Yes, I'm thinking this. X equal 14. So we're going to test all the branches here, okay? And I'm going to say print all right, colon. Okay, so I'm just going to go like that. Oh. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch this little trick I'm about to do. Okay, end is empty line, and then I'm going to say events of X. All right, let's see if this first one works and we're happy. And if we are, then we'll do the rest of them. Oh, oops. I forgot something on my format statement. It's a good thing, otherwise I would have had to. See, I forgot to say the string is a format string, please, if you don't mind. Oh, yeah. X is 14, and that's correct. Okay, that was our intent. So let's go ahead and make the rest of it happen. So I'm just going to take these 4 lines, 4YY. Okay, so we're going to test the case 16. It's a border case, right? We'll test 17. That's an interior case. Hey, come on. Okay, do what I want, Vim. We'll test 18 because it's a border case. We'll test 20. Interior case. We'll test 21. Now I made a mess out of that. 21. And then finally, I will test somebody who's over 18. How about 44? Okay, because that's just quick and easy. And let's see if everything comes out as we expect it to. All right. Okay, when you're 14, you have no adult privileges. That's right. At 16, you can get a driver's permit. At 17, you can get a driver's permit. At 18, it says you can get a, they're all saying you can get a driver's permit. Ew. Okay, so we're not happy because what is happening here? No, this is what makes this business interesting is you need to think about the way in which you structure your conditional logic. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Maybe the smart thing to do is to go from, instead of from low age to high age, see, once you hit this if statement here, and this executes, the rest of the progression is skipped. So as soon as one of these branches executes, you can only go down one tine of the fork. We've got a four-way fork here. And our first case is masking these other cases, and that's not very happy at all. So what do? Well, let's think about this and see how we can make it go. First of all, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take those two lines and I'm going to paste them up here. I'm going to change that to an if. All right. So this first statement, if you're over 21, that's what we want to have it say. We want to have it say you can legally purchase alcohol. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two lines and I'm going to paste them up here. All right. 18. All right. So if you're over 18, you need to register to vote. Okay, if you're over 16, you can get a driver's permit. And I need to say elif here, or it will produce a nasty logical error. Okay, because our intent is this is a four-way fork, and we only want one of them to execute. If you do this and chop off the L here, you'll see that the program will have an undesirable outcome. Let's go ahead. 14, you have no adult privileges. 16, you can get a driver's permit. 17, you get a driver's permit. 18 and 20, you need to register to vote. 21, you may legally purchase alcohol. That's a border case. And at 44, that's the interior case, you can purchase alcohol. You are okay here now. So you can see that you need to be careful about how you structure this. This if progression works as follows. It's one four-way fork. Now if I do this, let's go ahead and delete that and see what happens. Okay, you have no adult privileges, 16, 17, 18, 20. Oh, it's telling us again you can get a driver's permit. You see that? You're getting two statements executing. Because what is happening here is you have two independent progressions. And you'll notice that an else in one of these progressions is entirely optional. But I consider it good manners to have one. And also you can use that else, you can use it as a default case, or you can report that somebody has made an error if they've done something that's outside of the bounds of what you expect. So this is the if progression. And what we're going to do next time is we're going to do a small case study. Principal Skinner has come to us, and let's see what he wants. Principal Skinner needs a program for entering grades. Okay, and his school has a plus-minus grading system, and we have to be very careful because there are a lot of specifications. It's a 10-point grading scale, and you have things like this. If you're assigning grades, for an A, B, C, or D, you can have a plus or minus modifier, but not for an F. For A, to get an A, you have to have 90 or above. And you got to watch out for things like this. What if a student has an average of 101? You want to be careful about what happens in that case. So we're going to see that there's a little complexity involved, but what we're going to do is tease the complexity apart by breaking things into functions. So that's a great use case for conditional logic, and we're going to cover that next time. But now, for now, what you can see here is you've learned about the simple if that allows you to skip code. You've learned about if and else that allow you to cause execution. If the predicate is true, one thing happens. If the predicate is false, another thing happens. And then finally down here, you can see that we can create multi-way forks with as many tines as we want. So I'll see you next time for the Principal Skinner test, or the Principal Skinner case study. We will write the case study and we will thoroughly test, because we don't want angry phone calls from parents.